Welcome to the Inspired by Her Story podcast. I'm your host, Kowcz, travel and brand photographer and the founder of Kowcz Creations, where I share other women's stories through my photographs and now this podcast. Inspired by Her Story is a podcast dedicated to inspiring, motivating, encouraging, and empowering women to get out of their comfort zones and follow their dreams. Whether it's owning their own business, experiencing something new, or making a major life change, I want to encourage other women to follow their dreams and live their lives to the fullest. Throughout this podcast, I will be sharing my own stories and those of inspirational women with hopes to let souls connect and adventures to unwind. Follow along as I take you with me during my travels, experiences, and encounters with these amazing women. On today's episode of Inspired by Her Story, we have Alyssa Kowcz. I met Alyssa during a local yoga retreat where we bonded over my three favorite things: hiking, traveling, and photography. About a month after this retreat, I came across an amazing opportunity to attend a photography workshop by a travel photographer I admired, Tiffany Nguyen, also known as Tiff Penguin on Instagram. This workshop was absolutely perfect as it was being held in Alberta in British Columbia, Canada, which was on my bucket list of places to travel to this year, and involved hiking the best national parks in the area, living in an RV for a week, and of course learning from two amazing travel photographers. Everything I could have dreamed of. Since these were also the things I bonded over with Alyssa, I instantly thought of her and convinced her to join me. Leading up to this trip, Alyssa kept saying how it was totally out of her comfort zone for doing a trip like this, so I knew I had to have her on this podcast to talk about her experience in making this decision. I am so excited to share with you her thoughts before attending the photography workshop and after to really show how stepping out of your comfort zone can truly create amazing life experiences. Welcome, Alyssa, to my podcast today. I'm happy to have you here.
Hi, Caitlin. It's great to be here.
Now, I am pretty much known for convincing all of my friends to constantly travel and go on trips with me. And you were my latest victim this year, so congratulations.
Thanks. It was well worth it, though.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear. So, as I mentioned before, Alyssa came with me to a photography workshop in Canada. And it was such an amazing time. And I have to say, it took a little convincing in order to get Alyssa to come with me. So I wanted to make sure to do this podcast and kind of talk about what made her decide to join this trip with me. So when I originally told you about this workshop, you were a little hesitant. And why was that?
So actually, I think a lot of it had to do with the timing. I was actually on another vacation at the time. So I wasn't really planning to go on another one in such a short period of time after. But and I didn't actually know if I'd be able to get the time off from work. And also the cost of the trip, too, I guess, was a bit of a consideration. Another part was I was actually already planning to go out there for a vacation later in the year, so I didn't know if I wanted to go twice, but this was a different enough experience, so I was a bit torn. And also, I guess the last part was staying in an RV all week. So while it was exciting perspective from like a sense of freedom and being able to drive places to basically get the best shots and the best time of the day, it was also a bit concerning because I've never done a trip like this before.
Mm-hmm, definitely. I mean, especially traveling in general could be like totally out of your comfort zone, but then taking a trip where you're also living where you're driving at the same time, it's not your typical vacation. So I could totally see how that could be uncomfortable in the moment.
Yeah, with a group of strangers too.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is totally new and different. So after, I kept messaging you back and forth while you were in Costa Rica and I was really trying to convince you to come, what made you decide to finally say yes?
So I read a little bit more about the trip, and it got me really excited just because it's been on my bucket list for quite some time to actually go to this part of Canada, specifically Banff. And it was actually a time when I think I talked to you previously about it, but I was looking to get back into photography. So, I've always had an appreciation for photography. I feel like it makes me really slow down a bit and appreciate my surroundings. And then getting to look back at the pictures just brings me right back to that one place. I love to travel and explore new places. So once I started thinking about this a bit more, it was kind of a no-brainer. And I'd have to tell you, since I was in Costa Rica and I was actually on a yoga retreat, it was during a meditation session where I kind of really just tried not to focus on it, and tried to see if, I'd get a gut feeling on one way or another. And it was actually in this session where it was a yes for sure. And I'm so glad I made that decision. And after that, and once I decided that I was going to go, there was no looking back for me.
Awesome. I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. So it totally happened on purpose for this opportunity to come when you were in Costa Rica at a yoga retreat, because who knows if you would have been in that right mindset otherwise in order to make that decision to come. And then now you got to experience something totally different and outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I think the timing of when you asked me, and also the timing of me looking to get back into photography specifically, just really, I think, came together really nicely.
Yeah, it ended up being so perfect, because that's actually what we especially bonded over when we first met at the original yoga retreat we were both on, was both photography and hiking. And I remember you telling me how you were planning a trip to Banff, and I was so jealous. I was about to say,
I remember that.
I just met you and I don't know your sister, but can I join your trip? So it actually ended up working out like perfectly. So as soon as I heard about this opportunity, I was like, she would be the perfect person for this. If she's looking to get more into photography and she loves hiking and totally wants to go to Alberta, then why would this not make sense? And so I'm so happy that you came with me, because it was absolutely perfect. When you come across different situations that might get you out of your comfort zone, besides something like this, what makes you usually most hesitant in saying yes?
I think throughout my life, new experiences in general, it's when I don't know what to expect. So I guess in some sense it's the unknown, which, to some extent might make me anxious, but also has a sense of making me excited as well. I've always been cautious about pretty much everything in life, at least initially. It's just kind of in my nature. But I also have the other side of me that I really do love adventure. And through the years, I've learned that I actually thrive more in uncomfortable situations and challenging situations. And it's been a real area for me in personal growth.
That's awesome. It's funny when like thinking about having a balance of, trying to be cautious and prepared, and like just having this mindset where if something bad happens, like you're ready to take it on, but then also at the same time, like getting out of your comfort zone and like just going for it and being like, you know what, all thoughts aside, like let me just do it. So it's all about having that like equal balance somehow.
Yeah, and I think that's, I think you said it well when you said equal balance, and it's the balance of, maybe it is unknown and could be a situation out of your comfort zone, but at the same time, it's also the return on investment that you get out of actually making that, choice to do something that you don't feel 100% comfortable doing.
Right, exactly. You want to make sure that it's well worth it in the end, and you're not making just like a gut decision just because, but that you're going to receive something afterwards.
Yeah.
So when you decided to take part in this photography workshop, what did you hope you would get most out of the experience?
So, like I said before, I was really looking to get back into photography, so I wanted to learn more about photography because it's a hobby of mine that I've been kind of on and off from over the years, and I've just been really busy with my job recently, focusing on other things where photography kind of took a back seat. So it was really a great opportunity to, make it more of a priority because I knew it was something that was important to me, and it's a real stress relief for me actually. And I love being able to look at pictures afterwards. And I think having the opportunity to get the hands-on practice after learning different techniques was something I was really looking forward to. And also a chance to see beautiful places to take images of was, a huge benefit for me in this actual experience too. And just meeting new people, trying new things, being outside, hiking, living in an RV for a week, really just all of that was what I was looking forward to out of this trip. And honestly, it just blew my expectations out of the water.
That's so awesome. It's so cool too to see how like your original hesitations that you had, like living in an RV and like being with people that you've never met before, how those were your hesitations, and then they also ended up turning into something you were looking forward to as well. So it's
Also a
really
challenge.
cool. Yeah, exactly. Like I guess after you think about it for so long, then you end up looking forward to it, just kind of seeing what that result is going to be. And so now that you did experience this, and we came back a week ago, a little over a week ago, how do you feel? Are you excited like that you took part in it? How did it impact you overall?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I'm still kind of on a high from the trip, and just thinking back, it was honestly a trip of a lifetime. Probably one of the most amazing trips I've taken so far. I mean, the on-site instruction from the instructors was invaluable. It was, like I said, great to be able to practice what we learned in one of the most beautiful places in the world. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything better. And honestly, the weather was in our favor as well.
Yeah.
So it was amazing weather, just great conditions. The places we went to take the pictures were places I would have never found on my own. So I think I really appreciated that. And even just sharing the pictures just on my iPhone, even with friends, they're already wanting to go there. So inspiring others to really go out there and explore. And I just can't wait to even go edit my own photos when I have the time. And then being able to just meet like-minded individuals along the way and really get tips from them as well, who, I now consider friends. Just every aspect of the trip blew my expectations out of the water.
That's so awesome. And what's so cool about this trip that we went on too is that it's a unique experience in terms of it's not just your typical vacation and you're going and like seeing something new, but you get so much more out of it. And it's a big decision to make when you're going to make an investment like that, time, money, everything. But then when you look at the overall picture of what you receive in the end, it's totally amazing because not only do you get to see somewhere new like you normally would, but you're getting that one-on-one instruction like you mentioned, and that one-on-one attention where you can literally take a photo and say, how does this look? Or edit a photo and be like, give me your opinion, what would you do? And you don't normally have that opportunity. And then you're also, like you said, meeting like-minded people that you can just share similar interest with. And then you're also, it's a part of your hobby that you like and you don't really give enough time to, but now it gave you like a whole week to focus on. So then you come back and you're ready to conquer it. You're like, okay, where to next? Where am I going to go take photos? What should I do now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, making the new friendships, I mean, of course, that was an amazing part of the trip, and still kind of over this past week, even have kept in touch a lot with those individuals, even just sharing pictures and memories of our week. And then just like you mentioned, the newfound motivation to pursue this hobby more in, the near future, and I'm just very excited to get to start editing my photos and really want to make an investment in a new camera.
Yeah. Oh, it's so awesome. I can't wait for that because then we're going to go to so many more places.
I know.
We're going to have so much fun.
Find great places in Connecticut.
Oh, yeah. Do you feel like by going through this experience, you'll try more things that get you out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, the experiences in life that have shaped me the most have been the ones that I was most uncomfortable with in the first place. So for this particular trip, as I mentioned before, it was a trip of a lifetime on so many levels. I love the places we visited. I love trying out new cameras, lenses, being able to look at a scene and try out some different compositions, and really having that time to do that. And then meeting amazing people along the way. I mean, I wouldn't trade anything for this experience, and I would love to do another trip like this again. It's just it wasn't something I had considered previously. And honestly, if you hadn't brought it up, I feel like it was the type of trip I always thought maybe I'd do someday, but it wasn't one that I was planning on doing. So, taking this trip and doing a trip like this has made me a lot more motivated to do ones like this in the future as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It makes you more open-minded to different possibilities. I think it's like a little intimidating to try a different trip that's outside of something you plan yourself,
right?
Especially if you like being in control of things too, and you like planning your trips and like planning who's going to be there, what time you need to get there by, what you're doing the whole time. So I could see that being like a little scary if you're not doing that. But then now that you've experienced it, you're more open-minded to other opportunities that would be the same.
Yeah, and I think a trip like this too, you kind of just have to go with the flow a lot of times. So, you don't always have control over things like the weather, the conditions, or the people that you're with. But at the end of the day, once you get past that, I think you could learn a lot about yourself from that experience, and also, you know, help others learn more about themselves as well.
Yeah, I love that. That is awesome. And when you're in a situation like that, it almost feels a little more like vacation because you are out of control and you just
Yeah.
have to go with the flow. So you're just like, I'm on vacation. I'm just going to do whatever comes to me.
Yeah, it's not like my normal everyday life, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. So, after reflecting more about the trip once you got home, what were some of your favorite things that happened?
So, I don't know, there's just so many to talk about, so I'm going to just pick some of my favorites. I think just in general on this adventure, this trip, getting to know everyone was probably one of the biggest highlights. So, you come together as a group of individuals that don't know each other, led by two photographers, and I think we really all became very close by the end. So, getting to know everyone, even in those times when we were traveling in the RV from maybe one shooting spot to the next, really getting that time to just talk one on one, learn about their stories, learn about where they came from, their backgrounds, why they're doing what they're doing, and then how they also got interested in photography was a really special thing for me because I just love learning about people's stories in general. And just the time, which normally would just be a transport time from one place to another, really became more of a chance to just get to know people better. So I would say meal times were also one of my favorites. Everyone had kind of their own roles, yet we were all prepping together. We'd be listening to music, just enjoying the time together. And a lot of the times it's just amazing, actually, the really great tasting meals that you can make on an RV that were really actually very well planned by the photography instructors, Tiffany and Jonathan. And then just going back to Tiffany and Jonathan, so they led this workshop, and it was just clear that the amount of research they did beforehand, really making sure that they knew where we were going, what time of days were best to get different pictures, what vantage points were best, where to go where there weren't as many tourists. It was just, they did an amazing job prepping for this and also making sure that the experience was an amazing one for all of us. And then just, I would say, RV life in general. So, from the traveling to the RV, sleeping in the RV, putting the beds out at night, retracting, making our own beds. I haven't experienced anything like that before, and having those times in the RV, even late nights, were just really special. A lot of the conversations, a lot of the games, Pass the Pigs specifically. It was just really great to just lay back and hang out with everybody after a long day.
Yeah, definitely.
And just to touch on the long days were very long. We were up for sunrise every morning, 4:20 wake-ups, and then 4:40 sunrise, and then staying up for sunsets, which were 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the evening, and then just staying up afterwards. Even though we had very minimal amount of sleep, it was well worth it, and I think there was just this amazing energy that came from all of us, just being in this beautiful place, doing something that we all love doing, so taking amazing pictures and just spending time together. I think we all hardly realized that we weren't getting really any sleep. So I think that was a really special part of the trip as well. And then I think one of the biggest highlights was jumping in Lake Louise.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it was someone's idea to do this, and the rest of us thought they were crazy. But then in the end, we all ended up at Lake Louise and jumping in together into the 32-degree Fahrenheit water, staying in for long enough to take a photo, getting back out. I'm pretty sure a lot of tourists have photos of us as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I think it was a really great group bonding experience, and I'm so glad that we did it, and definitely one of the more memorable parts of the trip.
Yeah, and that was like a good way to wrap it up too, because that was like the last full day there, I think, or at least like one of the last full days.
For sure.
And I remember we were all like trying to convince each other, like, you're not going to do it, right? Like, we're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And then we eventually all ended up doing it together, and then we did not regret it at all.
No, it was an amazing experience, and I think it really helped culminate everything at the end. And yeah, it was I could come up with a lot more memories, but those are, I think, some of my favorites, and some of the ones that maybe I wasn't quite expecting or really thinking about when I was going into this trip, but it'll be some of the memories that I do remember for quite a while.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way to wrap it all up because really in the end, like we all became like a family. And I think that's the most important part when, especially when thinking about how one of your hesitations about going was the fact of like going with a bunch of people that we didn't know. And then in the end, it's like everybody becomes family and you stay close with them after and you don't want to leave them. And so it's really cool how we ended it at Lake Louise, jumping into the water in the freezing cold water, because that's really how it wrapped up is we all did it as like a family together, you know, and our meals each time was like a family cooking meals. And I think by living in that was the same thing. And it only brought us closer because of living in an RV. If we had hotel rooms or something, I don't know if we would have gotten as close. You know, as you mentioned, we literally had to like put down the dining room table and take out the pads of the couch and make a bed out of it and like create our living space each and every day and night. So by going through all of that together, it just like really helps you bond even more. And then also being there for something that we all have an interest in, being photography, hiking, adventure, travel. It just really all brings it together as one. So it was really awesome to be able to wrap up the whole trip of also doing something that nobody really wanted to do, totally outside of our comfort zone.
Yep, number one.
Jumping right into ice cold water. And
we all survived.
Yeah, exactly. And we have lots of pictures and videos in order to share that with everyone.
We do.
So that's awesome. I'm so glad that all of those experiences are the things that you don't really think about when making a decision to go, and it ends up being like the most rewarding in the end.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of great memories with great people, and ones that we definitely couldn't have planned before.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's the best part about doing something where you have no control over it. What would one piece of advice be that you'd give someone that might be in a similar situation that you were in when trying to make this decision?
I think maybe going back to maybe thinking more about why you feel uncomfortable in the situation, taking a step back and seeing if that's kind of really a valid reason or if it's more out of fear. I think it also helps potentially to do some research about it. So if you have the chance to learn more about what you're maybe getting into, it may make you feel a little bit more comfortable just jumping in. But in the end, you sometimes have to just go with your gut and your instincts and really just have the belief that you kind of know what's best, and don't be afraid to take a new opportunity or something just because you don't know what is going to come out on the other end.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love that. And I am so happy that you joined me on the trip. I feel like not only am I really happy that you experienced this and it got you out of your comfort zone and more open-minded to different opportunities like this, but I feel like we also got a lot closer as friends too. So that was an awesome experience. Most people go on these trips not knowing a single person, but at least we knew each other. So that was awesome too.
For sure, and I think that helped also knowing that you were going to be on the trip as well, and being able to talk about it beforehand, I think also helped too, and just having you there and having someone there who I knew was really a nice, I guess, got me out of my comfort zone a bit, but it was nice to also have that as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I'm so happy that you joined me for it. Do you feel like there's anything else that you wanted to touch on before we sign off?
Thank you for having me on this podcast. And actually, when we kind of started talking about this a little bit more, I had started having actually more of the realization that a lot of the questions you had asked had really made me think a bit more, and it all kind of aligned with more of my, I guess, life purpose. So through my job, we were actually had to go through a workshop to really understand ourselves a bit more, what our purpose is in life, and then how to apply that necessarily to our job, but then also to our personal life. And I'll just kind of iterate mine because I think it also really just helps bring this all together. And so my purpose is, live inspired and embrace challenges to create lasting impact. And I really feel like this opportunity that you presented to me was really an opportunity for me to live out my purpose even more. Mm-hmm. And really it was, inspired by you and embracing the challenge and the unknown for me. And then the lasting impact I think is going to come from just my newfound interest in the hobby of photography, and being able to go out, take pictures, meet people like yourself who also enjoy this, and people like we've met on the trip as well who are now friends, and then just being able to share those images and those pictures with others to help inspire them to want to visit new places, explore new places, and really see all the beautiful parts of the world.
That's so awesome to hear, because that is like one of my favorite things in being a travel photographer, especially, is to bring people to different places that either they may never go to, may never be able to go to, or to also inspire them in order to go there. And so often, even if it's not my best photos that I'm posting, it could be on my Instagram story from my cell phone, and I'm putting up pictures and people are writing back to me saying, oh my God, that looks beautiful. Where is it? I have to go. And so like hearing that and seeing it just like makes me want to do it more and wants to share the places I go to a lot more and share different experiences with people, because I want to either encourage them to go or at least be able to take them to these places that they'll never get to, because at least they're one step closer. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy that you shared your experience with us, and I hope that your story will help encourage other people to do something very similar, step outside of their comfort zone, and have an awesome experience like you did.
Yeah, for sure. And I think sometimes you have to remember too, it just takes, one person or one experience to really motivate you to take that step. And, I would just recommend going for it.
Yeah, awesome. So cool. All right, well, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thanks again for listening to the Inspired by Her Story podcast. I hope you found some inspiration, motivation, encouragement, and empowerment to get out of your comfort zone and live your life to the fullest. Make sure to hit subscribe, share with a friend, and take these stories with you to make the changes in your life that you've been looking for. Follow me on Instagram at Caitlin Kowcz, and even check out my work at CaitlinKowcz.com. Stay tuned for the next Inspired by Her Story episode.